Hi, today we will show how to implement a to-do list app using Polipo. So we start with an empty Figma file, and yeah, we start by drawing a frame. We just call it main. Now we go to the code, we run our application, our folder, and we also run the Polipo server. Okay, we can reload the page. Finally, we run our plugin. Okay, now Polipo is rendering what we have in this frame. I'll start by creating an input bar with some stroke, and as you see it's showing up here. I would probably want to make it a little bit larger, and I'm going to use auto layout in this frame. Okay, a little bit taller. Now we go back to the code. We want it to be filled horizontally, and yeah, that's our input bar. We want to actually make it an input, so we go to app. We have to give it a name first. We're going to call it task input, and we want this task input to be an input tag. Let's remove any children that might come from Figma, and we also add a placeholder that's what do you do. Okay, now we can type. Let's add the button. First, let's wrap it into a container, which is the task form. Let's also use auto layout for this one. And now let's add a button. So I'm just going to throw it here as a sibling of the input after the input. There it is. Let's add a stroke, and let's center them in the middle. There it is. Let's add a label here, some text. Add. Sure that the label is sized properly and it's in the middle of the button. Finally, let's show here. I'm going to add a fill so that the button looks a bit nicer. That's it. Maybe some rounded corners. And finally, we're going to have a stroke a little bit lighter and maybe some shadows. Okay, let's connect the code now. So we want the task form to be a form, and we want this button, let's call it submit button. I want it to be a button. Of type submit. That's it. Let's display something when the form is submitted, just to test that it's working. On submit alert submitted. Let's see if it works. Yes, it does. Okay, we also have to prevent the fault. Nice. Okay, now let's show the tasks. Let's add some state. Which is just a list of string, starting with an empty list. And also let's connect the new task to our input. Okay, value is new task and on change. First, let's see that new task is connected correctly. I'm going to display it here. Hello. Yes. And now let's replace this alert with the code that actually adds the task to the list. Okay, now we want to display those tasks. So first we need to add a container for them in Figma. Below the task form, I'm going to add another frame. I want it to be auto layout, go vertical, fill the screen, and hug its content. That's correct. Let's add a stroke so that we can see it in the code. Okay, maybe we want to add some spacing between the two. We can do it with Figma, just here. Let's put 40 pixels. And this is called task list. Let's see if we can display the current set of tasks. Task list. For the time being, I'm just going to use a div element to display it, and then we'll design some custom layout for that. Okay, we're almost there. It's not hugging the content, and that's because in Figma, to have auto layout actually work, you have to add something like a placeholder. Okay, this is just a placeholder for now. We are going to replace it with an example. And yeah, we see that we can add a task to the list. Let's design the tasks themselves. So I'm going to create a new frame. This is just a task. And it will have some text, which is just the task description. Let's make it task description. Let's fill the container. So let's add some auto layout here. And now this is fill. Okay, so far so good. Maybe the padding is a bit too much, so 10 and 10. And the height should be hug. Nice. Let's add some stroke as well so that it's easy to see. And now we want to use this design for the task. So to do that, we go to the Polipo configuration and we add another Figma layout. Page 1/task. Okay, we want it to fill the container. That's supposed to be true. And finally, let's use it here instead of a div for displaying the task. So React Figma layout task. Let's see if it works. Okay, all good except that the text of the task is constant and we want to replace it with the actual description. So let's make sure that this has a nice name in Figma so that we can refer to it. Description, and we are going to replace it with task description from code. Okay, that's it. We can add items. Let's add some functionality next. And yeah, and then we can iterate on the design and make it look nicer. So I want to be able to remove tasks from this list and also mark them as completed maybe. Let's add a remove button first. Okay, it's already horizontal. I'm going to just add a frame here with some stroke. We fill it with some dark red. And now we add some label that says remove. Now, of course, here we could use a component if we have them defined in Figma, but we can also make it custom just for this element. That's totally up to the designer. Let's call it remove button. It's showing up here. So now let's connect it. Remove button. We want it to be a button. We don't need to change the children. And now on click, I want to remove the current task. So let's get the index of this task. Actually, I'm gonna use Copilot help here. That's exactly what we want. Let's see if the button works. Yes, it does. So now we can add as many tasks as we want, and we can also remove them. Let's improve the design a little bit. I want them to look a little bit darker. Let's drop the stroke, we don't need it. Add some corner radius, maybe 20 pixels. Oh, that's too much. Let's do 10. Some shadow. Okay. Let's actually make them a component. Okay, I reloaded the plugin so that we can use them as a placeholder instead of this placeholder. Maybe another one. We fill. Okay, so now we can also change the design of this. Again, no need to have a stroke anymore. We can increase the padding a little bit, 20, and maybe add the maximum width. This is definitely too wide, 400. And we just have to make sure that they are centered. There it is. You can do the same for this task form actually. Also add the max width of 600 this time. Okay. This also needs some tweaking. Task input, some radius. I'm going to make it an auto layout so that I can use padding, maybe 15. And let's make it vertical. And yeah, let's add an example, a placeholder here as well. Padding is a bit too much. Maybe we want the stroke to be a little bit lighter. And that's it. Finally, the remove button. Can make it a bit nicer. Not here, we have to do it in the component, of course. No stroke. Maybe the feel also, we make it a little bit lighter. No, that was wrong. We can change actually the color for brighter red. And make the font bold. As a last change, maybe I want the add button to be to the side instead of below. I will just make this horizontal. And that's it. And that's how you make a to-do list with Polipo with a design that's connected to Figma. That's it for today. Thanks for watching.